to the What Are You Driven By podcast. This season, in season 2, we are really exploring the challenges and the changes that shaped people and also what drives them. So maybe you're going through a difficult time or someone you love is going through a difficult time. So our goal this season is to help you discover someone who went through a similar situation and can give you the strength or the insight to help you make it through. So make sure that you subscribe to the What Are You Driven By podcast and connect with us online at Driven by Co. Now, on this episode, we have Jesse Reed, the founder of Dropout Entertainment. Jesse, why don't you introduce yourself?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on here. My name is Jesse Reed. I'm the founder of Dropout Entertainment, which is a music platform that supports artists all across Canada. We feature music videos, interviews, features, reviews. Kind of everything that's going on in the music world. We try to put it all together in one place, which is Dropout Entertainment.
Wow, that's incredible. So when did you start that?
So I originally started Dropout Entertainment back in about 2012. So I'm from Saskatchewan originally, from a small town of 4,500 people.
Whoa.
When I was 19, I moved out to Mississauga to attend Metalworks Institute, and I took entertainment business management. So yeah, I got to move down here. I didn't know a single soul anywhere, anywhere, in Mississauga or Toronto. So it was a big, it was kind of a big risk and a big thing that I did at the start. But yeah, it was so incredible. I met so many musicians while I was there, and different artists and people working in the industry. Before I moved to Toronto, I had been in a band that had done a couple tours, and I really noticed when I was in Toronto that there was a lot of websites that, featured Toronto musicians, and there was websites that featured Vancouver musicians or musicians from Saskatchewan, but there wasn't a whole lot that tied it all together. So that was really my original goal, was just to put something where no matter where in Canada you were, you could discover all of these incredible artists from across the country, and also just to connect those bands with each other. Because there's a lot of bands across this country that are very similar, but if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find the ones on the other end of the country.
Right, that's so true. I mean, as you mentioned that, I think I can only think of platforms that talk about Toronto music. I'm not familiar with any bands or musicians from anywhere else in the country, but I've lived here my whole life, so but
Yeah, and
interesting.
it's something we all kind of get tied into, right? As well, like you're concentrating on what's going on in your city. So that's really what I was trying to bring together, and it's just grown so exponentially since then. It's been really incredible. Yeah, pulled off a lot of really cool things, and it all started just with that little dream of connecting people. So it's been a really beautiful journey.
Wow, that's incredible. And I want to dive deeper into your story. And you mentioned, moving from such a small town and coming here to do metalworks. Like, what was all that like for you?
It was overwhelming but extremely exciting at the same time. Yeah, I still remember my first time coming to Toronto and just going downtown and seeing Dundas Square, and yeah, just that extreme feeling of, yeah, just excitement about all the possibilities out there in the world, and being able to kind of take on this crazy city that I'm in now.
Wow. Was there something in particular that made you want to leave Saskatchewan? Like, was there some sort of event or you decided that you wanted to pursue music and you just thought that was the right avenue?
Yeah, so it was just because I wanted to pursue. I knew I really wanted to work in music. I started working in videography at the age of 16 at a cable television station there in Saskatchewan. And I really felt if I wanted to, accomplish all my dreams and do everything, that this would be the place to be. Yeah, this is the epicenter for music in Canada. So I just kind of launched myself right into it.
Wow, good for you for following your dreams and your goals. And yeah, I think you're right. It really was the right decision for you because look at what you're doing now, you
Yeah,
know.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. So through all that experience, and I mean you have extensive experience in the industry already. So what in that experience taught you the biggest lesson?
Just like from but between starting in Toronto, or just in the career in general, you mean?
In general, yeah, in your whole career.
The biggest lesson. I think one of the biggest lessons I've probably learned is just to treat other people well. And that's something that I see people making the mistake of so many times. And yeah, I've been doing this for, yeah, 10 years now, and a lot of the people that were there at the start are still here doing it now. And fostering those relationships over the years has really gone a long way. And just being somebody that people want to work with sometimes means even more than the skills that you have.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, we just met recently, and I like immediately I can tell you have this really positive energy about you. You're a really great listener. And I think that's so important with what you're doing. And you're right, building those connections and being the person that somebody wants to work with is huge in growing your business. So I think that's something that anyone can take away and really apply to their own life and their own business, and being who are you seeking on the other end, right? And how can you be that person so that they want to work with you too? So
Uh,
yeah, so I just wanted to know more about sort of your motivation, and what was the source of your motivation throughout all this?
the source of my motivation. One thing that really motivates me and makes me feel very fortunate to get to do what I do is just creating, things that didn't exist before and putting them out into the world. Like, to me, that's just such an incredible feeling to get to, just have an idea that was in your head, or in an artist's head, and it's nothing. It didn't exist in the world before, and now through the skills that I've put together, I can put together this, music beautiful music video, or photo sets or anything like that. And now there's a new thing in the world that can affect anybody that watches it. It can change their day, it can change the way they're thinking about it a week from now. And that was something I got to put out there into the universe. So that's a huge motivation for me.
Wow, that's so true. What a true creative, creating something from nothing and something brand new to the world. I think that's incredible. And I think that's an experience that so many of us don't actually get to experience just because we're so busy, in our own lives, in our own careers, that sometimes it's just, we're bogged down by paperwork or errands or all these other things, that we don't step back and really step into our power in terms of being able to just be creative and let that flow. So I think that's really cool that that has been a real source of your power, and, something that's led you to where you are today.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and you're so right. In our everyday lives, things get so busy that yeah, a lot of us don't get the opportunity to create all of those things that we want to create. So yeah, again, I feel super fortunate to get to do that and get to also share other people's creations in my life.
Yeah. Now, coming from someone who is so passionate and so creative and so motivated, was there a time in your journey where you felt that your motivation was non-existent? Like you were really low motivation? And what was it that contributed to that feeling?
Uh yeah, honestly, I think throughout my career, during the pandemic was the lowest point that I got to. Ever since I moved here, things have just been go, 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 and I never really even had a chance to, stop and think about a lot of this stuff. And when everything came crashing down, yeah, it definitely affected me a lot mentally. The whole imposter syndrome thing, I think, really started to kick in for me. And yeah, I think that's definitely been one of the, like, motivation wise, that was the hardest moment of my life for sure.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you couldn't do what it was you were doing before. And being someone who's so connected and passionate to what they're doing, I mean, that must have been really difficult. So I'm sure there's people who can relate to you, people listening right now. So what was it that got you out of that? What advice do you have to coming through that experience?
That's a really good question. I think for me, um, it took a long time, and it's something that I'm still working on. Trying to improve my confidence, and make sure that I don't have all those little thoughts creeping in when I'm trying to do something. Um, but yeah, I think just remembering that, yeah, no matter what you do, another pandemic might always be around the corner. Like, if things might all get shut down again, I might, go from being able to go out and seeing all my friends and seeing all these artists and all of these shows. It could all be gone tomorrow. But dwelling on that thought doesn't help in any way. Going on with life and just knowing that even if everything does go away tomorrow, I'm still doing my best today. I think that was the biggest thing that I had to keep telling myself, and to, kind of help get through that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. So I guess that sort of that consistent or persistence, daily just trying to keep yourself going was, during that time when your motivation was low, maybe that was what kept you going until things could get better because nothing lasts forever, like you said, and there was brighter days on the way.
Absolutely. And yeah, and we made it through that. The music industry is back and thriving. And yeah, yeah, no, it's beautiful to see that even when the world does come crashing down, if you keep working hard and keep going, that doesn't mean that's the end of anything.
Exactly. No, and I think that's good advice for any entrepreneur or anyone in their life, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It applies to so much. Like for me it was the pandemic, but there's little mini versions of this in people's lives
Yeah,
constantly.
exactly. Exactly. Now, with all the projects that you have going on, I mean, the work that you do is very much project based and creating and different iterations of the work. So as you're working on all of these things, what is it that makes you feel so engaged in these projects?
Yeah, so I feel like for me it's especially for doing any kind of project with Dropout, it's really easy to stay engaged because artists, yeah, they're just a different breed. People who dedicate their life to putting out music and putting out all this kind of stuff are so some of the most creative people I've ever met. They're so inspiring, and they're in their conviction of themselves and their belief in themselves, and getting to be a part of that and helping share their stories and their music. Yeah, it's a great feeling for me. Yeah, but yeah, I would say, yeah, once the projects are going, it doesn't take much for me to stay motivated, knowing that not only am I creating something on myself, this artist is also creating something on their end, and together we're putting out, yeah, again, just something that didn't exist before. So that's yeah, that's a lot of motivation for me.
Wow. That's incredible. And I had never really thought of it like that. You are constantly surrounded by people who have put their all into what they're doing. And I think they have to have a certain level of confidence to be able to do this. I mean, you would know better than I do, but I'd assume that, people who don't have the confidence probably don't do as well as those who are able to really get over that hump or that fear of failure and just really go at it 100%.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that is so inspiring about working with musicians, right? Like it's scary to go up on a stage and just, put yourself out there in front of a whole, bar or venue full of people. It's scary to put out a music video. You never know how people are going to react to it. The internet is also a pretty mean place a lot of the time. But all of these artists, that's something that they've moved past and they're not concerned with. They're just trying to put out their best version of themselves and the best version of their art. And yeah, just being surrounded by that is definitely a huge inspiration for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I think that's so interesting, so fascinating because for those of us who are not in the music industry, just wouldn't really feel how that actually feels. So I just want to dive into sort of your past here and your story and your experience and just was there something that sticks out in your memory? Some moment or some big moment where you were like, wow, this is so incredible, or I'm so happy that I chose this path. Is there any moments that stick out in your memory?
That made me glad I chose this path. Yeah, I think one, a huge thing for me. Dropout Entertainment runs something called the Canadian Independent Music Video Awards. Uh,
Oh,
and it's been on a short hiatus, but we are returning in 2024 with it. And through that, we yeah, collected. It started off as just a small idea. The first year that we did it, like I this was all pulled off in like a couple months. It was just kind of an idea to like, hey, everybody, here's all these awesome music videos that independent artists in Canada made. Check them out. Tell us which one you like, and we're going to celebrate these indie artists and give them the platform that all these big artists, there's always all these awards and everybody's always celebrating these people who are already being celebrated. And yeah, that really grew over the years. On the last one that we did, we had yeah, I got some of the top people in the music industry involved as both judges and hosts, and we had hundreds of submissions. And through that, just seeing that everybody celebrating and people were coming to the site every single day to vote for their favorites and, just talking about their favorite music video. And to see that was something again that didn't exist before, and now everybody's stoked about watching music videos and supporting their favorite music video. Yeah, like seeing that and having that pulled off was definitely just a huge reminder of what you can really do if you put it out there. Even if it doesn't exist before, that doesn't mean it's not a great idea.
Yeah, wow. Wow. And like you said, it was sort of just like a last minute idea. And you threw it together and it turned out to be an incredible idea and a great way to engage people and to get people interested again in Canadian music and Canadian artists. And it really brought a community together.
Yeah, and that part's like I feel like one of the biggest parts for me, seeing that this community has been built. And also anytime I see a show poster by two bands that didn't know each other before, we started doing some stuff together, or I was like, hey, you should check these bands out, or this is somebody that I'm working with. And yeah, seeing these bands work together all these years later is a really incredible thing. Also, just getting to watch bands grow is such a fulfilling thing too. There's quite a number of artists that I was the first person to ever make a music video for them, first person to ever feature them, first person to ever do an interview with them, and now they're playing with some of the biggest bands in Canada. And to get to see that I could help out with that journey in any way, not to take credit for any of that, but to see that I was one small piece of it is such, it's a really incredible feeling.
Well, maybe a little credit is due. Whoa. Yeah, honestly, like being able to be, sort of that jumpstart for someone's journey, it's got to be, yeah, like you said, the most fulfilling feeling and just seeing them flourish as part of what you do. I think that's incredible. Now, I wonder, are you able to name drop some people you've worked with, or are we not allowed to do that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so one great example is an artist named Apricity, who I shot her first ever music video and the rest of her music videos since, and she is absolutely crushing it. She started this band during the pandemic, and since then has grown, yeah, just incredibly. Her videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views. She just finished doing some shows with Econoline Crush. Yeah, and like I guess I shouldn't spill too many things here, but yeah, she's got huge things coming up for 2024. And so yeah, to get to have been there from the very start of that is, yeah, mind blowing. Another one is a band called Mountainhead, who's yeah, God, I love those guys. But yeah, I was actually the first one to ever interview them. I found their music and I reached out and I was like, hey, I don't know where you guys are from, but would you like to line up an interview? And so that was the first one they ever did. And now, in the last year, they've played with Nickelback, they've played with Danko Jones. They're doing all of this huge stuff. And yeah, just to get to think that I got to ask them these questions and, be part of seeing that and watch the whole progression is really incredible.
Wow, that is so cool. And I mean, contrary to a lot, I know a lot of people don't like Nickelback, but I really love Nickelback. So I
Yeah,
gotta
they're definitely a I guess controversial, polarizing.
polarize.
That's the
Yeah.
word for it.
I have so many good Nickelback memories. I remember my dad used to play them on the radio when I was young, and I remember being in the back seat of his caravan singing Nickelback. And I just thought it was great. And then I grew up to know that a lot of people don't like them. And I'm like, what? It's a big part of my childhood here.
Yeah, though it's funny. They're having a big resurgence right now, and talking a lot about that whole backlash. Because yeah, I remember being young too, and like Nickelback it was cool to hate Nickelback. Like that was way cooler than liking Nickelback for some reason. And yeah, but they pushed through it. They've talked about it. They're like, you know what? All these people making fun of us and making all these memes and stuff, that just kept our career going much longer than most bands ever get to go for. So like, yeah, we'll take it. We're here, we're kicking, say whatever you want about us.
That is so true. I mean, don't let the hate get you down, and just use it as fuel to keep going. And that's exactly what they did. That's smart, though. I mean, I think in the music industry, you have to be really strategic and ensure that you're continually getting attention. But I mean, you would know better than I do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, especially, with the way that TikTok has worked its way into the music industry. I feel like you have to be prepared for a little bit of hate. Like there's a lot of people out there that it makes them feel better somehow to write something mean on your video, no matter how well it does. So that's something, as a creative, you gotta be prepared to deal with. And yeah, they're a great example of somebody who embraced it, didn't let it stop them, and look at where they are now.
Exactly. Now, for your own journey, were there any times where maybe there was a little bit of criticism, or like you said, someone commented on some of the stuff that you did in a really negative way? Was there any time that that sort of got to you and you had to overcome that?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. There's definitely been times where people have been yeah, yeah, no, just extremely, yeah, I don't know, I can't even think of the word that I'm trying to trying to use for it. But yeah, no, there's definitely been a lot of like a number of times where people are just the opposite of supportive. I know, especially through that CIMVA awards. I was getting death threats from one of the artists in there. Like that's how extreme things got. Yeah, people I don't know, especially when they're behind the internet, feel that they can do and say whatever they want. And yeah, that for me, when it was happening, I was distraught. Like I remember being out for dinner and like seeing messages on my phone of pictures posted with X's over my eyes on like this guy's social media account and like all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, it was really heartbreaking and just so stressful at the time. But it taught me a big lesson about not concentrating on those things. For every one person that doesn't like you, concentrate on the 10 that do. And so yeah, that experience really has helped me push through just trying to not care about those things, because you can't change certain people no matter what you do. Yeah, you just got to keep doing your best, and there's going to be haters, but you got to keep pushing.
Yeah, yeah, wow. I am so sorry that that happened to you. And I think you're so right. When people don't truly have to face the consequences of their actions and particular with the barrier of the internet and feeling like, you're invincible and you can say whatever you want, it just shows people's true colors. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, people who are unhappy with whatever else is going on in their lives, just I feel like they're more inclined to try and bring people down with them. So that's really unfortunate because I think we could accomplish a lot more as a society and as humans if we were more supportive of one another. But you're right, you can't change people. You can't, and the attitude that they have and how they've perceived everything that's happened to them is just going to give them a perspective that they're going to stick to, and that's the story that they have in their head, and you could be the villain in their story no matter what you've done. So I mean, you're right, concentrating on the positive things and the positive people, even though that's happening to you, is so important, not only for your work but also your mental health.
Definitely. And I think you're so right about what you just said too. A lot of people, when they are lashing out and sending angry messages, they're really angry at themselves. They're projecting it onto you, but anybody who's happy with their own life is not spending their time on the internet writing that. And that's a big thing to remember whenever you do get any kind of negative stuff. The people at the top are not criticizing people below them because they don't need to, and that's not a good use of their time.
Exactly, exactly, it's so true. Just trying to focus outside of what they're saying, but think about the situation and say, okay, someone who, like you just said, someone who is happy is not out here writing negative comments on people's videos and things like that. So speaking on happiness, what do you think people in life need in order to be happy?
What do people need? That's a great question. I wish I could be the one to answer this after so many people have tried. Yeah, to me, I think just doing things with your life that makes you feel fulfilled is what really leads to happiness. It's yeah, you can there's finding that fine line between, you can work as hard as you want and do everything you want. And I know people, I know a lot of people that do that, and it's not quite the thing of where you're being happy. You're being super productive, you're making all of this money, but that doesn't equal the happiness. But also the opposite is true, right? Sitting around all day, just kind of chilling also doesn't bring you that happiness. You need to find that balance between being productive, getting your work done, doing things that you care about and make you happy, but also making sure that you have the time just to enjoy life as well, and go out in nature, do spend time with friends. Yeah, it's such a fine line, and I feel like most of us are really really trying to get to that exact point in the middle there, and it's a hard place to find, but I think that's kind of it, is trying to find the balance between, yeah, doing things that can make you happy, but we also all need money at the end of the day, which is where it gets in the middle of that sometimes. But yeah, I think just trying to find that fine line between doing things that make you happy and making sure you can survive.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you said there. And I think you're right. I think it's more of a journey as opposed to sort of that happiness destination. And, some of us are able to build or find purpose in what we're doing so that we're sort of hitting both. We're making money, but we're making money while doing the things that give us purpose and give us fulfillment. So, for you, I feel like at an early age, you were really self-aware and you knew what it is that you wanted to do, and you were willing to take the risk and take the chance, as scary as it was. And so many people don't do that. So, I mean, maybe for you, this is just your life and your experience and your story. However, so many people can look to you and be so inspired because of the chances that you've taken and how true you were to yourself from the very beginning. So I think, you know, I'm even just hearing you now, I've learned so much in terms of you've got to go through it. You've got to take the chance. And in that in that taking of chances and in that overcoming of your fear, you're finding your purpose and you're getting more and more in alignment with what it is that does give you happiness. So I really love that, and I'm excited and so grateful that you've decided to share your story with us, because there's so much from it that I think can inspire people who are just on the edge, teetering between, should I do it? Should I not do it? My parents told me I should be doing this, or I think I should be doing this because society told me this, but I'm really passionate about this other thing.
Yeah, yeah. I should definitely mention my parents in this as well. Because yeah, coming from a small town in Saskatchewan, when I told people that my plan was to go out to Toronto, uh, almost all of the feedback I got was that you shouldn't. It's a scary, dangerous, terrible, dirty, noisy place, and that's just not, it's not a safe or a smart move. But my parents supported me 100% in everything that I've ever done, which is what allowed me to have the confidence and take the risk to come out to move to Toronto. Never once were they like, oh, you should just stay here, and keep doing things like they're doing. They were 100% supportive. Yeah, and that really, they made me who I am, and they supported it, and without them I definitely would not be where I am today.
Wow. The importance of just that little bit of reassurance made a huge difference in your life. And even though you had other people saying, don't do it, just those two people saying, yeah, you can do it, made a
Absolutely.
difference.
Yeah, and it did make all the difference. And I know it was hard for them as well. Nobody, uh, people don't want to see their kid moving across the country. It's everybody wants their family close at home. And yeah, that part's yeah, still all this time later, tough on me too. That's,
Uh,
as much as I love everything here, the one thing that I, yeah, don't get to do is see my family as much as I would like to. But I'm hoping I can combine those things, more, and try to get there more, because I really do owe everything to them.
Amazing. Now, do you get to fly back at, Christmas time or holidays and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I try to go as often as I can. Hasn't been yeah, as often as I would hope for lately. They've come down here a few times too recently, which has been really nice. So yeah, we definitely do still get to see each other every once in a while.
And I have to know, so do they think, now that they've been here, do they think Toronto is a dirty, busy, noisy place?
So yeah, that wasn't really my parents really. spouting that stuff. I don't think, yeah, no, I think I don't think it's where they would choose to live, but
Mm.
I think that they do love when they come down here and do love the city. But yeah, I think as for a lot of other people, when I do go back and visit, their opinion about Toronto definitely has not changed.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
and it's kind of the same the other way, right? Like a lot of people in Toronto would never want to go move to a town of 4,500 people. It's just such a different culture, just a different, yeah, it's a different society altogether. So yeah, everybody kind of sticks in their ways and thinks their way is the best, and I don't blame anybody for that ever.
No, agreed, agreed. And you're right. I mean, also the weather in Saskatchewan, how is that? I have to ask because I've heard horror stories.
Oh my gosh. So I'm acclimatized to Toronto now, so I don't yeah, I don't get the same benefits I did when I first moved here. But yeah, I remember the first winter that I moved here, I didn't wear a coat. Like the difference in temperature was so extreme that like the Toronto in winter was not cold to me in any way. Yeah, but yeah, back there it's funny. I tell people this, I'll be like, yeah, like with the wind chill -50, it's gonna happen every winter. And people are like, that's not a real thing. But yeah, no, it is I definitely enjoy the weather here a little bit more.
Oh my God. Well, you confirmed to me that I definitely do not want to move to Saskatchewan for the weather alone because it could be 10 degrees here and I'm wearing a full parka. So I think I'm acclimated to here, or if not, maybe Florida would be in my next ideal situation. Uh, but as we're wrapping up here, I want to know, based on your life experience and your experience in your career, is there any advice that just general advice that you would want to leave people with?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I do a lot of interviews with different bands, and I've got to interview some of the biggest bands in Canada. The Bare Naked Ladies, the Arkells, Chilliwack, all of these huge artists, and that's something that I ask so many of them. Do you have any advice for anybody else trying to do what you're doing? And the advice that I get most often is just do it. Just put one foot in front of the other and make things happen. Like it's going to be scary, and whether you have a crappy microphone, a little. This was funny. I was interviewing Seth Rogen at one point, and I'll never forget him saying this. And he like looked at my mic. He's like, "Yeah, even if you got a little microphone like you, he's like, just do it. Like, just get out there." And then I got to hear, his iconic laugh. So that's a piece of advice that always sticks with me. But yeah, I think that's really it. If there's something that you really want to do, the only way it's going to happen if you start doing it. Like regardless of people are going to give you a hard time at the start. Nothing is great when you first start doing it. Whether it's music or whether it's videos. When I look back at my first videos, yeah, it's I guess cringy is the word now. Like with everything that I've learned now, seeing those old videos, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was doing, but I would have never got to this point of knowing what I was doing if I hadn't put out those first videos.
Wow, that's incredible. And the thing is, you, the advice you're given, you live by it and you just did it. You went through it. And I agree. I've also heard some advice that was, if you're not embarrassed by your first product or your first output, you started too late. I think that's so true. If you wait till you think you have all your ducks in a row, everything's perfect. I mean, you missed out on all the growth and the opportunity that you could have had by just putting something out there and then learning from it as you go.
I just got chills hearing that line. That is such a good line. Like that's exactly it. Like if you wait till everything's perfect, you're probably going to be waiting forever.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it never will be, and you're missing out on all those opportunities for growth. So I think, before you go, I always have to ask everyone formally, what are you driven by, Jesse?
What am I driven by? I'm driven by the opportunity to create new things and put them into the world. And yeah, I'm driven by the opportunity to help other artists do that exact same thing. I would say that's my main driving factor is just being able to put new things out there and helping other people who are also putting new things into the world share them with as many people as possible.
That's wonderful. And you are living by that. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today and sharing more about your story and for all the wonderful advice that you have from your experience in your career. And if people want to find you at Dropout Entertainment, where can they go?
Yeah, so you can go to dropoutentertainment.ca is the website. That's kind of the hub for everything we've got going on. Also, yeah, Dropout Entertainment on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, kind of all the socials. Yeah, we got that name for everything. So if you just look up Dropout Entertainment, we'll be there.
Wonderful. Okay, you heard it here first. You know where to find Jesse Reed. He's the founder of Dropout Entertainment. And Jesse Reed, thank you again for joining us. And to all of you tuning in, thank you so much for listening to the What Are You Driven By podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.